Hello, students, and welcome to the Little Talk on Academics. It's going to be fairly quick, so everybody put your thinking caps on. So, academics, making the grade. Academics. There are a few guidelines that we do have that I want to make sure that I point out to you. Now, these are all explained in your handbook, so make sure that you go back there for detailed information. But I do want you to be aware that in our nursing and science courses, we do require a 78% objective test average to pass the class and an overall 78 average of the entire class to pass the class. So what that means is the cumulative score of your tests and your final exam, that's your objective test average. All of that counts for 80% of your grade. It must be a 78 average. You do have a few lifelines in our program, and we call them that, just like the show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? There's lifelines. Your first lifeline is you may withdraw from 2 nursing or science courses. You cannot withdraw from more than that. You may fail one course. One course may have an F on your transcript. On the next failure, you will be dismissed from the program. Another lifeline is that you can retake a science course if you have received a failing grade. If you do, on your retake, make an 83 or above, you may ask for that F to not count in your total failure count. So that 1 would go back to 0 on your count. You still fail it, you still have the hit on your GPA, but we don't count it against you in your failure count. There's absolutely no rounding of grades. That's important for you to know. We do not round, not a hundredth of a point at all. Do not think that that does not apply to you. It applies to everyone. So that's something for you to realize. I get students all the time who have a 77.9 and they want to know why we won't round it. That's just mean. Well, there's a minimum for a reason, and that is because that's the lowest possible grade that has been correlated with success. Below that, it is not correlated with success, so you need to work your hardest to make above a 78 on everything. There are no exceptions to these rules. Facts on academics. We did a little review, a research study, if you will, of 5 years worth of Fortis graduates from Pensacola. There were some commonalities that I think are important to know. Most all of those students had consistent grades across their class and on their standardized test. They all made right around the 78 to 82 mark in order to get through this program. So that also means no class failures or withdrawals. It can be done. Does that mean if you withdraw from a class or you fail a class, you're not gonna be successful? No, it doesn't. But it does mean your chances go down just a little bit. So you need to work harder and make sure that that doesn't happen again. Ability to multitask. You must be able to multitask. Time management is a must. Students who drop a class in order to focus on another class or have study habits that do not really help them grow as far as being multitaskers, like I'm going to focus on this subject for these 2 days and then this subject for these 2 days. It's not a good idea. You need to start training your brain to flip the script, as they say, switch gears very quickly, because that's what nursing practice requires of you. So multitasking is important. Pay attention to it. Success on the first administration of the comprehensive exit exam. We have a comprehensive exam that we give in your last term that covers all of the courses pretty much. Now, students who take that exam and do not make the minimum score on it end up having to take it again. It is highly correlated with success if you pass that the first time. The people who have to take it the second time have a 50% less chance of being successful on their NCLEX exam and becoming registered nurses. So we want everyone to be successful the first time, okay? Responsibilities of nursing students. So nursing students are responsible for certain things. And those things are, you are responsible for your own actions and behaviors. So the way you approach people, the way you talk to people, whether you do your work or not, whether you turn in your homework on time, whether you make a grade on a test, all of these are your own responsibility, not my responsibility, but yours. Being accountable for knowing what you're supposed to be doing is very, very important. Accountability means that you fully accept the responsibility for whatever it is. Let's take, for instance, if you miss a test, there's a specific policy in the handbook that talks about missing tests. We only allow one test to be made up a term in a course. So it's your responsibility to be accountable for knowing that policy. And I've had students who missed 2 tests and said, "Oh, I didn't know that policy." Well, we give you the links to the handbook, the nursing student handbook, and we give you the links to the catalog with the assumption that you are going to read those things and be an informed student. So you are accountable for knowing those things. You're accountable for knowing what you're supposed to be doing at what time and where. That we should not have to police your calendar. So it is time to make sure that you know exactly what's going on, even if you have to be a little overly zealous about it at first, which many students are. Make sure you know what you're doing when you're doing it. The effort you make in learning is all your responsibility. I can't make you try harder. Your instructor can't make you try harder. So it really is up to you. You must be proactive. We want to make sure that if you know you have got certain obstacles in learning, that you're proactive about it. I'll tell you now, things like childcare, if you think you're going to study with a 2-year-old in the room, you are wrong. Be proactive, make arrangements for that 2-year-old to be entertained by somebody. You need some protected time. You need to go ahead and make those kinds of plans ahead of time. Don't just wait and see how it works out. I can tell you, studying with any children around is rough. So be proactive. Follow through when you're asked to do something. You will get emails and all kinds of things asking you for information, for things for your file, for BLS updates, that kind of stuff. You are responsible for following through when you're asked to do something. I am not going to track you down, and neither is anybody else on the staff. We have 300 students, and it's impossible for us to be that person that chases behind you. The energy you bring into the learning space every day is very important. You really need to understand that when you come into a learning space, whether that be online or whether that be in person, it doesn't matter. You must keep yourself in a positive frame of mind. Okay, the energy you bring is important, because when you bring negative energy into a learning space, no matter where it is, what happens? It's infectious. Everyone becomes negative. So everyone come with their best foot forward, and we should be fine. Teachers. Okay, so what's the teacher responsible for? Many people do not understand what teachers are actually for. So I'm going to kind of give you the bullets. So teacher's job is to explain complex information to the student. Their job is to demonstrate how to identify connections in the material so that it makes sense. Now, can they do all of that for you? No, but they will demonstrate to you ways to do that so that you can develop that skill on your own. They will model critical thinking for you. They do this by taking you through questions in class, showing you the reasoning process by which to answer the questions correctly, model anytime that there is a thinking process involved. They try to bring the student into that process so you can learn from that. They evaluate learner performance. They do that through grades. They do that through checklists, observations of skills. They will be giving you feedback. They provide feedback to learners. That may be through a grade. It also may be through a conversation. And they may bring you into the office and say, or call you and say, "I'm worried about your attitude. I'm really concerned about if these problems in your life are getting in your way," and things like that. So that's their job. Their job is to look for opportunities to help you be a better student and a better nurse. Offer assistance to learners. That's what they're there for. If you have a problem learning something, please approach your teacher. They will help you. Maintaining a high level of knowledge content for themselves. That's very important. Provide support and facilitate learning. That is also very important. So make sure that you understand what the teacher's job is and what your job is. So, what is learning anyway? Learning is the process of interpreting information, making internal connections between data, and developing the ability to apply that information in solving problems. Like any skill, a teacher can demonstrate how to use information in solving problems to students, but can't actually learn for the student. Most of the learning does occur outside the class. That is a proven fact. Learning is not always comfortable. In fact, it might be uncomfortable. Reading a book over and over is not learning. It is not learning. You need to make sure that you understand that learning is really when you can close your book and tell people what you learned and what you read and what the concepts are and what the details are. That's when you have learned it and not before. Studying challenges. Many people have problems studying. Learners, one of the big problems is not knowing what your role is in your own education, not understanding that you are the person that has to take action in order to learn. That's just what learning is. A lack of time management and procrastination is also a problem. A lot of us act as though procrastinating is just a normal thing that we all do. And that's fine, but not everybody's a nursing student in an accelerated program. You do not have time to procrastinate. You must stay on top of things. An inability to multitask, we discussed that before. Low retention of material almost always is caused by poor study habits. So if you need help with that, you come to either the dean, myself, or Ms. Sproles, the assistant dean, or your instructor, and we will help guide you through changing some of those habits. Not being proactive is another thing that challenges many students. My advice to you is anticipate your challenges and make plans to adapt for them. Last but not least, studying is an individual thing. There is not a magic number. You don't do what you're told to do. You don't do what you can do. You do what you have to do and what it takes to make the grade. You need to think about it that way. Study at every available moment using every available resource. We want you to be studying in consistent small periods of time, not in big extended time, because your brain is going to overload and basically burst. Small, consistent periods of time every day. Class is the place that you go to make sure that you're on track. Most of your learning happens outside of the class. You need to make sure that you are prepared before you go in. So before you go to a Zoom session or a conversation online, you want to make sure you read the materials. Be prepared. Okay, so that is it on academics. I will see you on the next one.